Hi, everyone, and welcome back. Tom Slivick with Ted's. Tom.
Tim Smith.
I don't know why I do that, but I do. I just get so burned it on names.
I've been called Tim and Tom and Kim and Jim and all kinds of stuff. So that's okay.
All right. Let's get back now. So it's the reclamation has stayed in local hands. Did they expect that maybe everyone in the counties where this was happening to rise up and say, look, we think this should stay local?
No, I think they didn't expect the kind of kickback that blowback that they got from the local counties and the local lead agencies and the industry. We basically backed them off of all the onerous parts that they were going to usurp from the lead agencies, local lead agencies, and take over in the state. And in a sense, that would have grown the state agent, forced a growth in the state agency, which we don't need either. I think what had happened here in Amador County and in Calaveras is that the county officials and the planning department and the board of supervisors were made aware of this potential take of their authority on the end process of the Mining and Reclamation Act and rose up. And I think in Amador County especially, the board of supervisors did a great job passing a resolution against this. And I think the planning department did a good job of making people aware of it. And I think it goes to show you that if citizenry and the industries that are affected work together with local agencies, you can get a lot done at the state level and the federal level when they don't really understand what your issues are, and all they understand is growth of government and putting the trust of the operations into the hands of the state and taking it away from the local agency. I think that's the wrong way to look at this, and I think your county supervisors did a great job in standing up to this. Okay.
The Mokelumne River is, the state is looking at it for a wild and scenic river. There's a bill that is now going to be discussed. What are your feelings and not your feelings, but what do you know about the wild and scenic designation here from the state?
I have not studied this issue in detail, okay? I do know some things about it, and the state is requesting a more limited designation of area than the federal government did a few years ago. And basically it's the riparian area that's bank to bank with the riparian vegetation along the river. I think the thing that's important to understand about that is that when you have a designation placed on a particular piece of ground, that designation doesn't just cover that area. It covers the area that is you can view that from. And so what happens is if you have a designated area and I am on that designated area and I can see an activity that's off of the designation, I'm going to, I'm anti-development of whatever it is, house, a mine, whatever. It gives me sort of standing to say you are interrupting or you're hampering my experience in that designated area. So it gives one more tool to fight the adjacent areas, any development or anything that goes on in those adjacent areas. It could be the riparian corridor. Like the Federals is a quarter-mile wide, which then the viewshed makes that entire canyon area observable from a project that might want to happen in that area. So the designation is a way to regulate. They say it's not meant to regulate, but it's a designation. If you have a designation, you can regulate to that designation, and that's the way most of the environmental activist groups work. They incrementally put in a designation, then that affects a buffer area, and that area, again, depending on the viewshed or whatever you have, affects a larger area. So it's, you start with the core designation, and it expands via complaint or whatever to a very much larger area.
Tim, you're basically talking about a view when you're talking about, like, as if you could see it, a viewshed and a view. What about other, like, waterways or to it, so you're adjacent to that and you might be damaging the area or contributing to this or that?
Well,
is it just the views?
No, it also impacts anything that contributes to that designated area. Say a seasonal or a perennial stream that might drain into that designated area would be then able to be pulled into the designation by a direct continuity between the water in that tributary and the river itself. So it's a very dicey issue, and when you start putting designations on an area that already has a use and is being used, to the best of my knowledge, very well, and has been used continuously for a long period of time in the way it was intended, the designation then becomes just a method of control and regulation.
I guess you could say I've been here for a long time. It seems like the Mokelumne River is very protected. Not we, but have tried to put off-site dams, some dams, raise some levels, and none of them have moved in, have taken place with the designations that are on it now. I believe the local board here in Amador sees it as a future, we might need something for the future, and tying something up with a designation restricts looking at it for future use.
Yes, I believe that's the way to look at it. They're talking, and when you talk to the groups that want designations, they usually say, well, this is all we want now. But you know that incremental encroachment of basically the areas that are withdrawn in some fashion or other by designation or by regulation, that's incremental encumbering of our lands, okay? And the environmental advocacy groups have trained us pretty well. They go after a little piece, and then they go after a little piece more and a little piece more. Well, we're beginning to be smart enough. The conservative groups are getting to be smart enough to look down the road and say, well, what does this really mean down the road to us? Is this the beginning of the end of any use in that particular area? And that's what we're concerned about, and I think that is a concern that's really, really justified.
Tim, is your group concerned about the process involved, the studies that haven't been done from the state's aspect of looking at it as the studies that they need to do?
As I said, I haven't studied this issue in detail, but I do know that this has come up at the last moment. It's sort of been a quick and dirty piece of legislation that's come flying through without a lot of consideration. There's been studies done when the federal designation was proposed some time back. I don't know if they're using those or not, so I can't really answer to the specifics of what studies show what. So.
Okay, so your concerns are the danger of the designation spreading, so to speak. You get a piece, and then it becomes more and more.
Yeah, and more than that, it's using that designation as a tool to beat up on somebody that's not within that designation, but nearby or in some way connected by view, by drainage or vegetation or anything else, affecting that operation. That's kind of how this works. It brings all that stuff into a relationship or a nexus with the designation.
Okay, now are you going to be attending the I mentioned it's going to be a hearing on the Wild and Scenic River that Hancock will be heading up? On the...
No, on the 29th?
29th?
No, they had changed that. I was supposed to be there. It was supposed to be the 22nd, supposed to be yesterday. But they changed those two items to the 29th, and I have to be out of town. I cannot attend that. But we are going to have some people there. So I think the county's planning on having people there. So there are going to be people that are going to input. And I want to reinforce the fact that public input is very important on these things. And if you feel that you're being abused or there's something that's impacting you, get involved and get a hold of your county supervisors or county departments that's affected, and find out how you can help them out to protect your freedoms and your use of your resources and your ground.
Okay, so that's going to be happening at the Natural Resource and Water. It's going to be at room 112 at 9 a.m. I guess the state capitol. Mm-hmm. You ever been in that room?
Yeah.
Okay, is it hard to get to?
No, it's been a few years since I've testified in that area, but yeah, I've been there before. No, I think you'll be able.
Okay,
you should be able
so
to
people that would like to go and voice their opinions, this will be a good place because
Just
is
go
this
in.
the start
Just go in and, if you haven't got one of our flyers, go in and Google Natural Resources and Water Committee. And Google that, and it'll give you a place to go to get the agenda, get the instructions, find out what the issues are, get the staff reports and that sort of thing. And it's really easy to find online. So.
Okay. And of course, your group does a lot of input into the state and local. You locally come and speak on things as well.
That's right.
All right. And once again, there was Tim has brought up how local people addressing their government at different areas does have an impact. So you want to, take part in your government. That's the way to get it done right there. Well, Tim, I want to thank you for coming by.
You bet.
And thanks for the report.
Yep.
And thank you for watching. And we'll see you again next time right here on TSPN's News. You're watching Amador County's local television network, TSPN.